Hey guys, if you are getting this video, it's because you're absent when we talked about our technical device presentation, or you're going to be gone or are gone, either way. So basically what this is, we've been talking about waves, we've been learning about waves in the sense of like, okay, like what is a wave? And we've learned about things like frequency, wave speed. Now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on some application of this. Like, so how do we use waves? And one thing we use waves for is a lot of technical devices. So things like cell phones, computers, technology like sonar, motion detection. Really, we use waves a lot. We use it for obviously radio, right? Those type of things. So uh, what we're doing in this presentation is you're going to look up some sort of device. So example I have on here is how phones use waves to send information to a cell tower. So when you go to send a text, how does it go from a text message on your cell phone um, into a wave and then to the cell tower and then to somebody and have them see that exact same text message, right? So we got to take information like text or sounds or images and convert it into something that we can communicate on a wave. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. Another one that we talked about was like internet. If you have wireless internet, you are getting that internet using waves. Okay, so there's a bunch of different devices, and you're going to put together your presentation. And the goal is we want to answer these 6 questions. So I want to talk about these real quick because some of them are kind of confusing, but once I explain it, hopefully that'll help. So the first thing you just got to identify what device you're saying. Okay, so this is my cell phone. I chose a cell phone, and we're going to talk about how it uses waves to send a text message. If you do choose cell phones or computers, choose a very specific task, like just pick sending a text, or just pick making a phone call, or sending an email, streaming a video on your computer. Just choose one very specific task to kind of focus on. That'll make your searches a lot easier. It'll just make it easier to put together. So first slide is just what is your device, and then what does it use waves to do? Okay. Then we're going to start to look at specifically the wave. Okay. So when it says what type of wave, a lot of these devices are going to be using electromagnetic waves. Okay. So if you think about the electromagnetic spectrum, we got radio, right? So it says like AM radio waves and FM radio waves. And then I think you have, trying to remember if microwaves are on the left side, but then you get visible light. Uh, then you get ultraviolet, X rays, gamma rays, right? So somewhere on that spectrum, we use a lot of those. And with technical devices, they're kind of more towards like the radio wave frequencies. Um, so it would be when we say identify or what type of wave does it use, a lot of you will say electromagnetic waves, but then it'd be a little bit more specific. So if it's like radio, um, you could say, okay, yeah, it uses electromagnetic waves or radio waves. Then the frequency, okay, so a lot of them use ranges. So it'll say like, okay, it goes from 2.4 megahertz up to 3 megahertz. That's the frequency range, okay. So what frequency does it operate at, and then what's the speed of the wave? Okay, so these are going to be things that you're probably just going to have to kind of search, right, and Google. Um, and then these two, 3 and 4, these are this one's kind of tough because all I'm really wanting is I want us to understand that there is a piece or a component in that phone or in that computer that has to create that wave, right? We have information that we want to translate into a wave. Something has to do that. So I'm just looking for what the name of that piece is. Okay, so what actually creates the wave? Okay, what's that called? And then same thing, what receives the wave? Okay, we don't have to get into too much detail. We just kind of want to find that part. Maybe see if we can find a picture of it um, for those. Okay. Uh, then the last one now, this is number 5, well, second to last. That's going to be kind of that's where you really kind of try and figure out and understand how this works. Okay, so how does the wave allow the device to achieve the task? And I put that kind of vague because, so for example, sonar, it's going to use a sound wave, and its task is to find the position of some object, right, and tell us where it is. That's a very different task than sending a text message. So that's why I kind of kept it vague. But basically, you're going to say, okay, how does this work? Okay, so first step, with sonar, right? We have to emit a high frequency sound wave or a low frequency sound wave. And that sound wave travels out. And that sound wave bounces back, and we can detect that sound wave. And then we can measure how long it took. And based on how long it took, we know the position of something. So kind of along those lines, right? Same thing with the text, right? So we gotta convert that text or those words into binary code, ones and zeros, and then we can take that binary code and we can communicate that on a wave by changing the frequency. Okay. And so we create this wave based on the binary code, which is then received by something else, which we can then untranslate back into words, right? Or binary code first, then words. So that's what we're looking at here for 5, being a little bit more specific on how does this actually work, okay? And then the last one is just kind of how has this affected people's lives, right? Obviously, cell phones have made a huge impact. Being able to make phone calls away from a building is a pretty big deal, right? Same thing with computers, wireless internet, sonar, even motion detectors. So those motion detecting lights, they're pretty cool too. And they're kind of simple how they work. So those are all examples of things that you can use. Okay, so I got some nice pictures. Oh, Bluetooth. Here's a cell tower. Oh yeah, here's our electromagnetic spectrum. We got radio waves, microwaves, infrared. This is our visible light spectrum, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. Right. So a lot of the waves that we see are going to be falling on this spectrum. Okay. So the requirements. We need 5 slides minimum. We need 1 picture per slide. Try and answer all 6 questions, and then just don't make it a boring plain white, black and white slides, right? And add some color, find some good templates, things like that. So if we think about this with 5 slides, this can definitely go on one slide, number 1. Number 2 can probably go on one slide. Number 3 and 4 can even be combined, or they could have their own slide. And then 5 and 6. So really, if you're doing one slide per question, you could even group 3 and 4 on a slide. You meet your slide minimum. So it's very easy to lay this thing out. So if you have specific questions, let me know. If you're absent during class, I understand it's a lot harder when you're trying to find this information, to decipher this information. So just do the best you can. I'll take that into account when I'm looking at these and grading these, okay? All right. Yeah, like I said, let me know if you have questions.